And huge shout out to our good friend Case Study QB. Please follow him on Twitter because that person is sitting through corporate media, so we don't have to. Somehow he's still able to put up great content. So Gunnar, would you kindly please play that first video?
I mean, I would totally love to. Just absolutely can't even begin to tell you how much I would love to play that clip. Stalling. Just really love playing that clip. And now we're going to play the clip.
All right, there we go.
That's exactly it, and that's what Willie was talking about a few minutes ago. I think he was exactly right. It's just the idea that Biden has almost ceded the stage here willingly to Donald Trump and let Donald Trump be the star of the last few months and let people sort of make up their mind based on that. And I look at these poll numbers right now, and one question I ask myself is, did it have to be this way? If the Democrats had nominated anybody else, would it also be this way? Would Bernie Sanders, would Elizabeth Warren also be 14 points up? And I don't know what kind of campaign they would have run, but I wonder, we talk about the strength that Biden has right now among suburban voters, suburban whites who had voted Republican in the past, and I wonder if Bernie Sanders, if he would still be leaning in, we probably likely would, be still leaning in on the sort of democratic socialist message. Would that be putting those gains that Democrats have made in the suburbs, would that be putting those at risk to some extent? Yes. I wonder, if Elizabeth Warren, or I just wonder, if she leaned in or another candidate got forward and leaned in more in a more aggressive fashion on these protests. And I wonder, Biden has put this election in a position, has put this campaign, I think, in a position where, like Willie is saying, Trump is the featured player right now, and people are basing their judgments, I think, based on their assessment of Trump, and that's it right now.
Okay, so looking at that whole video, I kind of vomited in my brain just thinking,
that's very dangerous.
Wonder. That's all you're going to do, corporate media. You're going to wonder. And the thing is, who knows? Maybe in a hypothetical scenario where Bernie Sanders is the nominee, perhaps we would see a much more bigger lead. Because remember, before this crisis even happened, polling data was showing Bernie Sanders beating Trump by double digits. Same thing like in 2016. And the thing is that Biden, for the most part, was hiding in his basement. And while Trump is shooting himself in the foot with all of his actions, I mean, he is his own worst enemy, and a lot of people are not popular, are happy with Trump's recent actions. There's a lot of assumptions being made because the Democrats are hoping that white suburban voters who voted for Trump are going to turn out to vote for Biden. And the thing is, they were saying this in 2016, and they were wrong. And they're hoping for massive voter turnout, and that might not be the case because, again, this entire election has been turned upside down thanks to COVID-19 as well as this economic depression that we are in. Plus, we cannot forget, throughout the entire primary of 2020, the same thing has always been happening. Polling stations shut down. People are no longer registered as voters. People cannot participate in voting. There's election fraud. There's voter suppression. Election machines are not working. Lack of paper ballots. And go on. And people are waiting 8 hours, 10 hours just to wait in line just to turn out to vote. There's a lot of assumptions that the Democrats are making. And right now, yes, Biden is in the lead. And theoretically, yes, he can beat Trump right now. But the thing is, anything can happen between now and November. And remember, in September and in October, there's going to be 3 presidential debates. A lot can happen between now and then. And remember, Biden's campaign is only now reaching out to Latinos, only now building up an online outreach organization, only now trying to reach out to millennials. But even then, his campaign is not embracing Medicare for all. His campaign is not embracing a UBI. His campaign is not embracing the defund police movement. His campaign is only giving words and platitudes, and it's not enough. So the thing is, I'm going to stand by this statement. All the other Democratic candidates would be doing more than what Joe Biden is, because look at all the interviews that he has done since this crisis started. He has been stuttering. He's been stammering. He's been making gas. He's obviously clearly not keeping in touch with what is happening on the ground with the people. And so when we see these pundits talk about, well, I only could wonder what Bernie Sanders would have been doing. Well, theoretically, Bernie Sanders would be doing a phenomenal job at this point, but he gave up. So we may never truly know. But I do know this. Biden's campaign and how they are handling this entire election cycle, they're taking it too easy. They're just farting around the country thinking they got this in the bag, and they're assuming that people are going to turn out to vote. Are they reaching out to young people? Are they reaching out to millennials and Gen Z? Are they doing enough? And the answer is no, they are not. They are not really paying attention at all. They don't care about what's happening right now. They only care about this whole notion of, well, Biden's not Trump, so everyone hates Trump, so let's vote for Biden. That's not enough. We need policy. We need real issues. We need somebody who's going to actually fight for us. And I just don't believe in Joe Biden and his campaign at this point. And they're clearly struggling. So with that being said, Daniel.
Yeah, Joe Biden is, of course, a disaster. Trump's a disaster. They're both disasters. And again, I'll say what I said a couple days ago again today. In any other campaign, a economic depression, a pandemic, and unrest will doom your presidency. Like, done. The fact that there's still a realistic chance that Trump will lead is a disaster for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, in any scenario where Trump has these things at him, anything less than a 300-point electoral victory, a 320, 340-point electoral victory is a disgrace, an utter disgrace. And we're not even talking about how big their victory is. We're still talking about, will this rush that Biden's experiencing last, or will it happen similar to what happened with Hillary? Who's going to come out to vote? And Kit was talking, I don't think Biden's even trying to reach out to millennials yet. He doesn't do any form of real advertising. I mean, it's like, oh my God, Biden every now and then will throw out an ad that you'll see when you try to enter our video. But effectively, we, at basically really people under 45, have been ignored by both campaigns. Although Trump seems to have, it varies. It's just going to be a matter of turnout. And again, what do we say? Democrats rig elections. Democrats rig primaries. Republicans rig elections. They are planning a rigging with the Republicans, and we've already seen very recently what that's looked like. So it doesn't matter if it's ironic. It's like everyone, like, we as Bernie Sanders people, when Bernie Sanders was running, I would say repeatedly, Bernie has to get like 5% over to really win because of all the shenanigans that are happening. And back when that was happening, we know exactly what the Democratic type people said that were elected and on TV. They said, "You conspiracy theorist nut, go fuck yourself. We're not interested in hearing from you." I don't think that is going to be the sort of language that that I expect we will see from those exact same people when Trump tries to do the exact same thing.
Yeah. And also, one other thing, too, I want to add. Polling data is showing Biden in the lead. But how are those polls being conducted? Who is conducting them? Are the numbers being rigged? Because, again, we saw firsthand in the early days of this primary, a lot of data was misinterpreted. And more importantly, it was showing early on, especially before the first 3 primary states happened, it showed Biden was this inevitable front runner, and yet he was struggling. Only then, after Super Tuesday, when all the centrist candidates dropped out, did Biden gain this momentum. And now here we are stuck in this scenario where everyone is thinking, well, Biden somehow has us in the bag. And I remember people being this lazy and this overconfident in 2016. So
it sure feels similar, doesn't it?
It does. It feels shockingly similar. And when I when I bring this up to some of my friends or colleagues, I'm getting the same kind of treatment I got in 2016. And look, let me be clear. I don't want to see Donald Trump get reelected. But that doesn't mean I'm somehow going to fall in line and vote for Joe Biden, someone who's been in politics for 30 plus years, who helped create this neoliberal system that Donald Trump has taken advantage of since before he got into politics. So the thing is, I look at Joe Biden and Donald Trump as one and the same. They're both part of the same neoliberal, neoconservative corporate club that's been screwing over working class people for years and years. And so that's why I'm voting third party, because I don't believe in Joe Biden, and I sure as hell don't believe in Donald Trump. But this is what happens when we have a two-party system that is supported by a corporate media that refuses to do investigation. All what corporate media is good at right now, Fox News, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, all what they can do is just wonder, and lead us astray. This is why now more than ever, we need independent media. So fuck the establishment.
And like we live in a vacuum, right? Like everyone, the corporate media lives in a vacuum. So they conduct these polls, right? And they're only asking people who they know are going to be watching their channel, right? So how did you vote in the last primary? Did you vote for Trump? Did you vote for Biden? Well, if it's Fox News, probably most people voted for Trump, right?
Yep.
And those polls are going to reflect that. Now the numbers might be similar, and they have to probably fib them, right? So they can look similar to all the other numbers, but it doesn't. The outcome's still the same, and it's still going to be the same that we saw in 2016.
I forgot, Gunnar, you actually weren't here when I did my whole thing on how polling is done. So let me reiterate that. Let me bring that back up. It does
I love a good
deserve to be brought
lesson.
back up. The way that polling is done in America is that some organization will contact another organization. Now, there's a lot of problems with the way that Americans conduct polls. First of all, they only use landlines.
Good.
That
I
right
totally have a
there
landline.
wipes out a huge percentage. It basically skews the country older, whiter, richer, just by doing that and doing that alone. What they also do is they go through the voting rolls. They're looking for people that are active voters. So if you're younger, that also screws you out of voting. Like we've had a number of polls. I remember when Bernie Sanders was running, where that we're like, oh, Bernie Sanders is going to lose. Then you look at the methodology, and it's like, oh, you didn't even ask anyone under 45 for this poll. Then you just like assume that they're going to vote a certain way, and then like so you have that part of it. So it's basically landlines and people that have voted consistently. Usually, the way that they did it was like because a lot of the Bernie people had voted in the 2016 election, but not before. So they're like, oh, you have to have voted in like 2-3 presidential campaigns. Then you have to have a landline on top of that, and then we'll talk to like 300 of you, and that'll be the poll. And it's like so effectively, like Gunnar, they don't reach out to their own audience, but effectively they reach out to their own audience.
Right. Yeah.
I think now more than ever, we need to see another perspective on how or what it means to really run for the highest office of the land. And I promise you guys this, we're going to try and figure out what that is and what it looks like, because we have to break this system, because what's being presented before us right now, there's Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee, someone's clearly suffering from dementia, yet corporate media is saying, oh no, he's perfectly fine. And then there's Donald Trump, a crazy reality TV show host who should not be president. But this is what's presented before us, because remember, corporate media chose to focus on his empty podium. This system doesn't work, and we must break away from it.
Yeah, it's so important to remind ourselves that in everything that's happening with these two elections, they're sort of irrelevant in a really big way. What was more irrelevant than the upcoming election for president? The special elections that we just had were progressives kicked ass. Yeah. That's more relevant because, again, if Trump wins, things stay the same as they are. And if Biden wins,
Nothing's
things
gonna
stay
fundamentally
the
change.
same as they are, but you get ice cream every now and then.
He's got really good tweets. You know, he's got
Yeah.
some pretty solid. I'll just go ahead and we'll just kind of flip through here.
Oh, let's hear him.
Healthcare is a right for all, not a privilege for the few. Cool.
So
what,
wait-
what does that mean?
Well, wait, is that Medicare for all, old man, or no? Oh,
yeah,
wait,
no, it's
no.
probably not.
That's the youth outreach.
And then we
he's like-
got right here, you know, he's talking to Mr. President. He's not adding the president, which, like, I know how Twitter works. You can at the president, especially for Joe Biden.
By the
Ignore
way,
the polls.
I'm going to
yeah,
venture a
it's-
guess. I don't think Joe Biden's writing these.
Yeah,
You know what I
probably
know?
not.
You know what I know on Donald Trump's Twitter? He's writing a lot of those.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
true.
after all, go Feffy.